Hello everyone, strap yourself in because this is the NBA RONA review, all 30 teams in under 20 minutes. Now we have completed our daily prayer to Spencer Dinwiddie, we may move on. The Atlanta Hawks. With 926 different lineups this season, the Atlanta Hawks struggled for consistency and balance. The Hawks season was plagued with injuries as well as suspensions. Their newly named All-Star Trae Young increased efficiency in both 2-point and 3-point shooting, evolving as a passer and a leader. Reddish, Collins, Hunter and Herter look like good talents, but nothing special. It's going to be interesting to see Capella's introduction into the team and something to watch over the next few seasons, as he could be a huge piece into developing this team into the next future contender. The Boston Celtics. Free of the yucky Kyrie Irving, Brad Stevens' coaching has shown its value yet again in Boston. The cozy fit of Kemba and Boston has been lovely to watch. Tatum has developed his game to an all-star level, bringing Jaylen Brown along with him. The Celtics' payroll has been managed very well. Add to that Hayward's expiring contract in 2 seasons, there could be potential to add another invaluable addition to this Celtics side. The only drawback I can see from this team being a championship contender is their interior defense. They don't have an opposing center. Daniel Theis is very cute, but not very scary, and this could hurt them being out-rebounded and out-muscled around the glass. I still predict this team to go deep into the playoffs. We already know Tatum and Jaylen Brown aren't scared of the playoff pressure, but Gordon Hayward remains their big if. If he can play well, the Celtics have a good chance of going far in this season's NBA playoffs. The Brooklyn Nets. Firstly, Spencer Dinwiddie is the greatest of all time. I'd give the guy my own kidney just to be within a 10-meter radius of his presence. Both LeVert and Dinwiddie have guided this team to a reasonable spot in the East. Unfortunately, Kyrie's addition hasn't proved to be as valuable as once thought. The Nets were known for their togetherness, which seems to have been disrupted by their 2019 off-season acquisitions, forcing the crew of Mr. Whoa Kenny to exit. DeAndre Jordan's considerable decline will be something to watch next season, as well if the Nets can re-sign Joe Harris, who would thrive next season with the spacing provided by both Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. It'll be super interesting to watch how a new coach can incorporate future stars, Caris LeVert and Spencer Dinwiddie when this team is at full strength next season. Let's also not forget, because of the virus, this season could be suspended and delayed longer. This might mean that Kevin Durant could be available for the playoffs. This propels the Brooklyn Nets into a top 4 team in the East.
The Charlotte Hornets.
The Hornets again find themselves in mid-table mediocrity. Of course, the Hornets are young and developing, but when are they not? The emergence of Devontae Graham has been a pleasant surprise. I can't predict his ceiling, but he sure looks good so far. The same can be said for PJ Washington, who looks like a solid starter for this team. It'd be interesting to see if Monk can turn things around after failing everyone's expectations so far. They got rid of MKG's awful contract, but better contract management is definitely needed if this team is to thrive. Huge contracts to both Rozier, Batum and Biyombo are stalling this team's progress, and a huge team reshuffle is needed. The Chicago Bulls. Is it just me, or is Jim Boylen very scary? We're all aware that Levine is an elite talent, who could be even better with some help and in the right system. Otto Porter hasn't been his 3&D self. The Bulls are paying him $27 million a year, which is a very big worry. The team's future success leans heavy on Markkanen and Wendell Carter. With a coaching change and some improvement from these 2 players, the Bulls might be at least competitive and around that 8 seed within 1 to 2 years. The Cleveland Cavaliers. Post LeBron, Cleveland has been a bit of a mess. Uncertainty surrounds the team with the future not particularly bright. The mid-season trade for Drummond was very weird, but for the unlikely chance he decides to re-sign, they're going to need to sign him on a smaller deal. Colin Sexton and Chetty Osman have improved significantly. Colin's intensity is elite. If he can fine-tune his vision and ball handling, we could soon be seeing an all-star in the weaker Eastern Conference. Also, Chetty Osman is now referred to as the Montenegrin monster. Thanks. The Dallas Mavericks. Mark Cuban has built this team well. The Mavs now sit outside the contenders in the scary Western Conference, looking poised to slip into that conversation with either a deep playoff run this season or a better record next season. Luka is spectacular. All that production for $8 million a season is how championships are built. His offensive ability already resides in the top 10 in the NBA, but his defense remains in question. The Zinger has very slowly grown into his role in Dallas, although more production assertiveness, especially on defense, is needed if he's to match his value at a max contract deal. I'd say the Dallas Mavericks remain a piece away from being a serious NBA contender. The Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets are contenders, but do they have championship caliber? The West is definitely tough, and Mike Malone will be looking to crack the code this season. They're a well-rounded team with an exceptional bench unit. The Nuggets thrive in the regular season. Their issue is in the playoffs. A huge step up is needed by Jamal Murray to aid the chubby Joker. Murray has been excused for inconsistencies being only 23, but going onto his max deal next season, he'll have to be at an all-star level for a chance at a championship. Their other issues reside with an old Paul Millsap whose max deal no longer matches his declining value, and the wild card of Michael Porter Jr., if healthy, could propel this team into the promised land. The Detroit Pistons. In the same boat as the Hornets, I have no idea what is next for the Detroit Pistons, other than they'll probably suck. Led by the forever wounded Blake Griffin, the next notable name is the 31-year-old D Rose or maybe Christian Wood. The Drummond trade was something that should have happened way before his value was virtually nothing, and now they remain stuck. Increased production by Christian Wood, a good draft choice, and a healthier Griffin is the only chance of a decent season next season. Even then, the mismanagement of the Detroit front office will probably hold any momentum. I have little hope for Detroit. Sorry. The Golden State Warriors. What a fall from grace for the NBA juggernaut, who came to a screeching halt this NBA season. I mean, at least the Warriors know how to tank, and have done it to perfection, sitting comfortably at the bottom of the Western Conference. I predict both Curry and Thompson to come back, at very least, near their old selves after injuries. Wiggins should be a good complementary piece next to the two as well. This tanking season has seen the emergence of Damian Lee and Eric Pascal, with both players potentially proving to be crucial for the bench next season, or possibly in starting roles. They have no room to wiggle in terms of cap space, but with a healthy roster they should comfortably make the playoffs next season. The Houston Rockets. What can Mr. Kai say? He loves watching these guys. The elite athleticism of Russell Westbrook combined with the craftiness of James Harden is just super fun. The freedom in which they play, they just stroll to wins and care little about their losses. The whole extreme small ball is exciting, but I'm curious to see how they'll deal with this in the playoffs. When the stakes are risen, will both stars' personalities collide? Stats suffering meaning nothing in the postseason, and will they get swallowed up on the boards in big games? Eric Gordon will need to return to his sharp shooting self, and the whole defense weighs on Tucker and Covington's shoulders. The Rockets' game plan is all or nothing. Who knows, they could stretch a long playoff run together off the backs of Brody and the Beard, or capitulate in the first round. The Indiana Pacers. NBA's surprise package keeps on surprising. Under Nate McMillan, who has proven he's a legit coach, they sit 5th in the East, vowing for home court advantage. If they can incorporate Victor Oladipo into the team after injury, they could find some momentum into the playoffs. With a fairly freed up salary cap, can the Indiana Pacers add new players next season? What has surprised me with this team is how well they've played without their star player. No one would have expected a breakout season from 2020 All-Star Domantas Sabonis. Malcolm Brogdon has proved to be also a great pickup in the offseason, meshing well. My only if for the Pacers is, can Miles Turner improve? And can Victor Oladipo find his groove post-injury? The Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers never seem to play at full strength, but they still have the second best record in the West, which is very scary. Kawhi and George combined for the best wing duo in the NBA on both offense and defense, both being proven winners in the playoffs. The buyout of Marcus Morris only adds even more offense to this already strong bench with Lou Williams. He also adds toughness. With the already high energy players of Montrezl Harrell and Patrick Beverley, this bench will be something to be reckoned with. They really cover all bases except a dominant center. With Ivinka Zubac and Montrezl Harrell inexperienced in the playoffs, I really can't see anyone stopping this team except for the Los Angeles Lakers. Can LeBron hold up this playoffs? Of course he can. The 3-time champion always turns it up in the playoffs, and now he has the best center in the NBA to lean on. The two stars will be fine, and I hope Davis stays in LA and extends LeBron's career. It will also help his own legacy. Danny Green is going to be crucial for this team. He's already got proven success with San Antonio and Toronto and will need to keep hitting clutch shots if this team is to win a championship. KCP and Bradley's shooting will need to be consistent, and old heads like Dwight and Rondo need to capture some of their old brilliance. Even if it's only for a few games, that could be enough for this team to succeed. The Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis fans should be delighted. Ja Morant is already a borderline all-star, and if Jaren Jackson Jr. develops nicely, they could be the most lethal duo in the NBA. They are the only team currently in the top 8 with space for a max contract, and look like a desirable destination with its young core. The team has already shown signs of being a huge contender, with very tradable contracts throughout. The likes of Winslow, Clark and Anderson are a very solid forward rotation. The worries for this team might be its small market, which might deter players from coming, although Memphis is growing as a cultural hub in the United States. Jaren Jackson also had a down year last year with lots of injuries, but still has all-star potential. Remember, he's only 20 and I can see him bouncing back next season. The Miami Heat. The Heat have shown that in the NBA there is no need to tank. They have carefully restructured a team that only a season ago seemed salary strapped. Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra should be applauded. Butler's intense work ethic leads this team well, with a huge togetherness found within the squad. Relatively unknowns like Kendrick Nunn and Duncan Robinson are now star role players and are integral for this team. The team is drafted well, with Bam Adebayo an all-star and Hero being one of the most elite shooters already in the NBA. Late acquisitions of Crowder and Finals MVP Andre Iguodala have pushed this team to the Eastern Conference contender status. With the experience and coaching, it isn't a stretch to put this team in the Eastern Conference Finals. And if not this year, the freeing of Dragic's $19 million this offseason should be enough to add that final piece. The Milwaukee Bucks. The clear frontrunner in the East, Giannis is also the best player in the Eastern Conference, surrounded by a great, well-balanced team. They are defensively sound and structurally very good offensively. The question remains, can they provide enough space around Giannis Antetokounmpo, especially when defenses tighten up in the playoffs? Eric Bledsoe will have to drastically improve on last year's playoff performance. If he can't improve, they should look for alternatives at the point guard position. Mike Budenholzer has done wonders at the Milwaukee Bucks, but has struggled to get past the Eastern Conference Finals. If they were to miss out again this year, the Bucks' championship window might almost be gone. Giannis still has one more year on his contract, but this is the season to bring it all together. Nothing less should be accepted by Milwaukee fans other than an NBA Finals appearance. The Minnesota Timberwolves. The most disappointing team this season should be reassessed this offseason. Are we convinced that Cat or D'Lo are winning players, with both needing extensive help for their only playoff series? Both are great players, but I don't believe they are winning players. Cat needed Butler's help in Minnesota to make the playoffs in 2018. Likewise, for D'Lo, who set out most of clutch time in early 2018, letting LeVert and Dinwiddie carry the team in those spots. By December he found his groove and got an all-star spot, but he wasn't entirely convincing. I'm not saying they're bad, they just need a defensive focused team around them, as well as another bona fide star. Problem is, no player even wants to go to Minnesota, so they might have to sit in the NBA's no man's land for the foreseeable future. A sneaky Devin Booker signing might help. The New Orleans Pelicans. The Pels' slow start had them chasing all season, but with Zion's addition, they have gone 11-9 and further look to improve that with 16 games left. The breakout season of Brandon Ingram cannot be understated either. He is now living up to those expectations and is willing this team to a potential 8th seed place. They're outsiders right now, but the suspension might help Zion recover properly and help the charge for the playoffs. Lonzo Ball is playing good consistent basketball and Pels fans should be extremely excited for the future of this team. Man oh man, the New York Knicks. I don't think I need to talk about the Knicks too much. They've been poorly built and their record shows. Mitchell Robinson is a great 22-year-old and was an unlikely gem for the Knicks to pick up 2 seasons ago. RJ Barrett hasn't been spectacular, but he sure is still promising. This team is just muddled and I believe Barrett still has all-star potential later down the road. He might just need better surroundings. The logjam needs to be sorted at point guard, with Alfred and Smith not showing much upside at all. Frank Ntilikina might be their only hope there at point guard. Even if one of them does have potential, it won't be found when they have to share all the minutes. The money given to Portis, Randall and Gibson is crazy too. Another disappointing season for Knicks fans. The Oklahoma City Thunder. The mirror image of the Heat, but in the West. The OKC Thunder have shown how to reshuffle a team without tanking. Chris Paul doesn't look too far off his prime years even at 34, with his tutorage for players like Gilgeous-Alexander invaluable. Steven Adams' contract might be a bit overpriced, which is putting scrutiny on Chris Paul who's being paid max money. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has skills to be elite at both the offensive and defensive end of the floor. They're salary strapped though. A trade of Gallinari or Steven Adams might help the team, but they don't seem to be gaining much interest on the market at the moment. The Orlando Magic. All I can say for the Orlando Magic is at least they're on course to make the playoffs for the second season running. They're average at best, and are only slightly better off than teams like the Charlotte Hornets or Detroit Pistons due to their firepower. They are low on salary space and are jammed at the power forward position. Vucevic is a good NBA center and the possible emergence of Markelle Fultz is still on the card. The Magic need to get some value for either Isaac, Fournier or Aaron Gordon if they want to remove themselves from the middle of the pack. There is still some hope in Orlando. The Philadelphia 76ers. The most dysfunctional team in the NBA at the moment, the Sixers have a power struggle causing them great inconsistencies. The Simmons and Embiid experiment has surely run its course, with this season being the last chance for these two to make it work. Even though Brett Brown has lost the locker room, the team is still extremely talented. The deadline trade for Burks and Robinson III should help bench production as well as shooting percentage. Matisse Thybulle's elite defense may prove valuable locking down opposing stars in the playoffs and should be watched out for. Can Brett Brown incorporate Ben Simmons during playoff time, or will he be yet again stuck at the dunker spot, taking away valuable space from Embiid? The two guys just don't fit together, and I don't see them getting any further than the conference finals unless Harris, Horford and Richardson can step up and play incredibly well. The Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns are a perpetual letdown. They started the season off great. I had them tipped to sneak into the playoffs, but they really fell off mid-season. Baines thrived early on Rubio pulling the strings. Oubre was handsome as always and getting major buckets, shooting and attacking well. That was even with an average start from Devin Booker. The hot start lasted about 15 games but was hampered by injuries to Rubio, Oubre and Frank Kaminsky, and the suspension of their number one pick DeAndre Ayton didn't help either. Kelly Oubre is thriving under Monty Williams and will be looking for a hefty paycheck in 2 off-seasons time. If they don't plan to keep him, options like Brandon Ingram could be a possibility this coming off-season. Unfortunately, Brandon Ingram does have bird rights, but he would fit perfectly with this young group, elevating this team to possibly a playoff spot. The Portland Trail Blazers. Does anyone remember this team? They were in the conference finals last year. With the highest team salary in the NBA, it's not looking very promising. It's a shame. Damian Lillard is an incredible player, but just needs some consistent help from a partner. CJ McCollum has had a very down year and he doesn't make it up on the defensive end, causing the team to get regularly cooked at both guards positions. Whiteside's very gross contract should be gone next season and help this team restructure for the future, although CJ McCollum's max deal for a 28-year-old who isn't even playing at his best doesn't really match around $30 million for 4 years. Both Yusuf Nurkic and Zach Collins are both criminally underrated and will definitely help next season coming back from long-term injuries. I just hope they don't get stuck like so many teams in the middle of the pack. Hopefully the backcourt starts to fire once again and they can get some help this offseason. The Sacramento Kings. When your highest paid player is Harrison Barnes, you might be in trouble. The Kings have been bad forever, and I don't know when it's going to get better. De'Aaron Fox stats are down in every category except points, and he's been inefficient from the three-point line like he was in his rookie season. Buddy Hield hasn't put much confidence into the 4-year $24 million extension he signed. With drops in scoring and field goal percentage, he's become a habitual chucker and is harming the offense more than helping. Luke Walton really hasn't added much to this team. He could be excused with his big star, Marvin Bagley, out for most of the season. I do think Marvin Bagley helps this team significantly and will open their backcourt's games. But they're all young, and Kings fans can't wait much longer. The Kings aren't known for great free agencies either, so if nothing is changed, expect another season outside the playoffs for the Sacramento Kings. The San Antonio Spurs. This steady ship is finally starting to sink, and Pop might be running out of time for another championship. They have no real direction with both their 30-plus stars, DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge on max deals. The team seems to just be going through the motions at the moment, with DeRozan failing to live up to the expectations at the Spurs. He was never expected to be a Kawhi Leonard, but at least help them make the playoffs each season. This team has a scarcity of potential talent with the exception of DeJounte Murray, who has bounced back nicely from his ACL tear. He looks like he will grow into a solidified top 5 guard in the next few seasons. Their love for the mid-range shot hurts them. The spacing is pretty poor as well. I guess they're doing their best with what they have, but it might be time to trade away some players and reboot this system. With their first season outside the playoffs looming, it might be time for a rebuild for the San Antonio Spurs. The Toronto Raptors. Predicted to fail by many before the season start, Spicy P and Fatboy Larry have shown they're serious contenders. Nick Nurse is a really good coach and knows how to venture through the playoffs, albeit last time with Kawhi Leonard. Although Lowry and Gasol are aging, they have a very good core in Van Vliet, Siakam and Anunoby. Siakam's play has been exceptional and deserves this max contract deal for the next 4 seasons, a true star who deserves to be built around. I predict Toronto and their rowdy fan base to have a good shot at the chip this year. They have the experience, so why not? Better yet, if it doesn't materialise this season, both Gasol and Ibaka's contract are expiring, freeing up $48 million in cap space, which if used wisely could push this team right next to the Milwaukee Bucks. The Utah Jazz. The Jazz have remained consistent under Quinn Snyder, and let's not get this twisted, they're a really great team, but I just don't think they scare anyone else in the league in the playoffs. Utah has a great home court advantage, and the addition of Bojan Bogdanovic could provide needed scoring in a tight playoff game. Mike Conley has not impressed in Utah, looking a shell of his old self, which could prove costly. In my opinion, he's the second most overpaid player behind John Wall. With Mitchell's rookie contract ending at the 2021 season as well, Utah might have made the wrong choice and messed up their playoff window. At least for now, they look great for another second round exit, which will seem reasonable for this team. If Donovan Mitchell doesn't develop into a superstar, this team might just be a playoff team, which isn't bad at all. The Washington Wizards. Man, there aren't many less promising teams than the Washington Wizards. Stuck in a small market with not much buying power and the superstar out for seemingly forever, it seems very dim for the Wizards. Luckily, at only 26, Bradley Beal is already the third best shooting guard behind George and Harden. He's been putting on a show all season, but I don't see much reason for him to stay in Washington unless Wall comes back as an all-star. Both Hachimura and Bryant look good, and hopefully stick around to build this team back up. They need something huge to change, and fast. Maybe John Wall isn't their guy anymore, but who really wants to go to Washington? The Wizards remain in a perplexed state, but at least they have stars. The front office needs to build around them, and that's something they've always struggled with. Thank you to everyone for watching the video. Please like and subscribe. It would mean everything to me. It took me so long. This is my first time doing a video like this. If you like them, just let me know, and they'll be coming out hopefully once a month at least. Thank you.